Chapter 9. Meet the Medicis. The following week, Monica reluctantly found herself joining Lady Medici on a hunting expedition to Starlight Canyon, a concession made at the insistence of her advisor. She had been dreading the day ever since the invitation was accepted, fully expecting Lady Medici to use the occasion to parade her sons in a transparent attempt to secure Monica's favour. In truth, Monica doubted she would feel anything but revulsion toward them, as her thoughts lingered on the Medici brothers and their reputation. They drifted instead to Max. He had never sought advantage in her title, nor had he ever treated her as anything other than an equal. The contrast was painful, and it only deepened her reluctance to endure the company she was about to keep. Originally, Monica had planned to travel to the canyon using her transport, accompanied by Lisa. Lady Medici, however, had firmly insisted on collecting her from the castle herself. And so, despite her misgivings, Monica found herself seated in Lady Medici's flying car as it set course for Starlight Canyon. Lady Medici was already dressed in full hunting armour, her polished surfaces gleaming with pride and anticipation. Monica noted the choice with a quiet sense of unease. The hunt was not a ceremonial outing. Gemron dragons were dangerous creatures capable of unleashing elemental attacks that varied according to their colour. As such, everyone taking part had come fully equipped. Armour reinforced, weapons prepared, and protective gear chosen with care. Monica adjusted her equipment, her expression composed but distant as the canyon loomed closer. The hunt ahead promised neither pleasure nor camaraderie, only obligation, danger, and the uncomfortable knowledge that she was stepping into a situation she had never wished to face. Monica took the opportunity to observe Lady Medici's 3 sons more closely. The eldest was Lawrence, heir to the Medici estate. He embodied every unpleasant stereotype associated with inherited wealth. Arrogant and petulant, Lawrence carried himself with an air of entitlement that soured every interaction. His temper was infamous, erupting whenever events failed to bend to his will. Both nobles and commoners widely feared him for his violent outbursts. The most recent incident had occurred after he lost a tennis match to Baron Lionel's son. Unable to accept defeat, Lawrence had taken his fury out on the nearest servant, who was still recovering from the injuries. Monica needed little imagination to foresee the consequences of such a man on the throne. Petty slights escalating into needless conflict, driven by ego rather than reason. Clive, the middle son, was a unique individual. Where Lawrence relied on brute force and intimidation, Clive wielded intellect with surgical precision. Slight of build, but razor-sharp of mind, he served as the family's treasurer, a role to which he was disturbingly well suited. His talent for finance was formidable, but it was his dealings beyond the treasury that troubled Monica most. Clive invested heavily in real estate, acquiring land, including protected areas, under the guise of providing affordable housing. Clive quietly increased rents once tenants had settled, eventually forcing families out. Prices would then be lowered once more, ready for the cycle to repeat, with profits steadily funneled into Medici coffers. Though Monica could not deny his skill, she found his methods abhorrent. His schemes prospered at the expense of the vulnerable, leaving families displaced and livelihoods shattered. Intelligence, she knew, meant little when divorced from conscience. Arnold, the youngest, stood apart from his brothers entirely. He possessed neither Lawrence's imposing presence nor Clive's calculating brilliance. Instead, he was gentle, thoughtful, and genuinely compassionate, a rarity within the Medici household. For this reason, he was treated as an inconvenience. His family made him the frequent butt of their mockery and readily cast him as a scapegoat whenever disputes arose with other noble houses. Despite her disdain for the Medici family as a whole, Monica felt a quiet sympathy for Arnold. His kindness marked him as an anomaly among his kin, and it was precisely this goodness that made him vulnerable. In a dynasty defined by ambition and cruelty, Arnold's humanity felt tragically out of place and undeservedly punished. Lady Medici broke the silence with polite curiosity. "Your Majesty, I understand that you travelled to Starlight Canyon during your efforts to stop Griffin." "I did," Monica replied evenly. "I was accompanied by a companion. We had to prevent Gaspar from destroying the lighthouse that safeguarded the moon crystal." "The same crystal once wielded by Crest at the Starlight Temple?" Clive asked, genuine interest flickering across his features. "The very same," Monica confirmed. "Sadly, I could not save the original Crest. However, his apprentice, Lynn, honoured his memory by continuing his sacred duties in his name." Lawrence leaned forward. "And at the lighthouse, did you confront the man who murdered the king? Was there some grand battle between you?" Monica shook her head. "No, that confrontation came later, deep within Mount Gundor. Max and I were forced to face him only after Griffin had twisted him into something monstrous." Her voice softened. "As much as I despised him for what he did to my father, I couldn't help but feel pity. Griffin mercilessly exploited his lost soul, searching for purpose." Arnold spoke then, his tone calm and sincere. "Your Majesty," he said, meeting her gaze, "your resilience and your compassion are remarkable. To face someone who caused you such pain and still recognize what humanity remains in them, that takes extraordinary strength." He continued quietly, "That you could find room for mercy amidst your grief speaks volumes about your character. The true atrocity lies with Griffin, who twisted an innocent man into a weapon for his own vile ends. In the face of such darkness, you and Max became beacons of hope, acting with resolve when it mattered most." Arnold inclined his head slightly. "Your ability to see beyond suffering, to choose understanding over hatred, is not weakness. It is the beginning of healing, not only for you, but for the realm you now lead." The undercurrent of disdain radiating from Arnold's family was unmistakable, yet it stood in stark contrast to Monica's expression of genuine gratitude. "Thank you, Arnold," she said softly, offering him a gentle smile. "Your words are a comfort to me." The moment barely had time to settle before Lawrence struck him sharply on the back of the head. "There you go again, Arnold," he snapped. "You always preach mercy and restraint, as though the world rewards such nonsense." Unperturbed, Arnold straightened and replied calmly, "The Queen seemed to appreciate it." Lady Medici scoffed, her lips curling with contempt. "As if Her Majesty would indulge your fanciful ideals," she said coldly. "Your idealism is no different from your late father's, and it was precisely that naive talk of peace and compassion that left him vulnerable to those with fewer scruples." Arnold turned to face her fully, his voice steady but edged with pain. "The day father died, mother, was the day your heart hardened," he said. It was the day you ceased to be a nurturing parent and chose bitterness instead. Lady Medici's eyes flashed with fury at the audacity of his words. For a heartbeat, it seemed she might strike him, but she stopped herself. Her jaw tightened as she forced her hand to remain at her side, acutely aware of the Queen's presence and the delicate politics it demanded. The tension lingered in the air, heavy and unspoken, as Lady Medici swallowed her rage and allowed the moment to pass. An uneasy truce forged not from restraint, but from necessity.